But I think the broader problem that we have, specifically on this thing of gang violence, I think is a societal issue that we have. And you, Nicholas, have touched on this on Facebook in one post you made, where you said that we need to look at the kind of environment in which these young men who end up becoming gangsters or who go into gangsterism, what kind of environment do they grow in? What kind of family do they come from? Do they come from stable families where both parents are present, both parents are active in their lives, especially the young men, right? Because for the young men, it's important for them to undergo something that marks that transition, as you said, from boyhood to manhood, right? So Amaxhosa, for instance, on that side of the country, they have their whole thing of initiation where the boys go to the mountain where they learn certain things, and that marks that transition from boyhood to manhood. You mentioned the Jews who also have their own processes of facilitating that transition. And you sort of want to ask that with these young men, what marks that transition into adulthood or into manhood. And for many of them, you find that they are initiated into gangsterism. That's their way of becoming men, being initiated into gangsterism, learning how to kill people, learning how to sell drugs. And you find in some cases that the gangsters that they end up working for are people who have assisted their own families. Maybe you come from a poor family, and that gangster assists your family. He feeds your family, he provides food, or he provides some degree of security, and you end up being drawn, into that world as a young man, and you find yourself, doing gangsterism. So there's a need to also look at the social drivers of crime. What are the other factors in this country, really, which I think are more important, that drive crime? What drives these young men? And I think if we're going to ask that question, we're going to realize that there's much more work. Of course, policy interventions are necessary. You need to crack down on crime. There's no doubt about that. But beyond those policy interventions, what needs to be done in society to try and really build a better society where we don't produce young men who are driven into this kind of lifestyle? And that requires a holistic response. Individuals, families, communities, civil society, churches, all those forces need to rally really and work together to say that even if a young man doesn't come from a stable family, maybe he doesn't come from a family where his father's present, but he still has leadership and mentorship in his life in the form of a pastor, in the form of an elder in the community, right? Because for boys, it's very important to have people in your life who model positive masculinity or who model positive ideals of what being a man is about. Those kinds of things are very, very, I think, important. So I think those are just my initial thoughts on this question of crime.